Welcome back. Have you ever felt like your life is you're just living your life and then people are like, just random stuff is happening all around you? Well, you might be in the middle of a movie. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, and this is the 25th anniversary of Bowfinger. I'm loving these anniversary things because I wouldn't have watched Bowfinger otherwise, naturally, just like casually, and I forgot I really liked this movie. So, yeah, it has audio description on Prime for Prime subscribers. It's TTS. It's TTS. I'm gonna be honest. But it's like elevated TTS to where the Prime has some stuff that I've heard where you're just like, oh my god, where it really sounds like one of the voices that we use for our screen readers, like being like, come to the bar, and you're just like, what is this voice? No, this feels like they scanned someone's voice, but you're pretty sure it's DTS. um, yeah, it's not terribly produced. And we'll get it. There's one thing where I'm just like, I cringed. I was like, it's more on a human had to write this because we're not at the point yet where AI is writing full scripts for audio description. So there was a human who wrote this, and I'm going to be speaking directly to him in a minute. So anyway, we have a funny movie here. It's directed by Frank Oz, written by Steve Martin. The script is actually by Steve Martin. It's not like, it doesn't just happen to have Steve Martin in the cast. It's written by him. So it's Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Heather Graham, when she was having a great year. 1999 was a great year for her because she was also in Austin Powers, Spy Who Shagged Me. So this was like, bam, like the Heather Graham moment. Christine Baranski. You've got Robert Downey Jr. Did you know Robert? Do you remember Robert Downey Jr. was in this? I didn't. Jamie Kennedy, Terrence Stamp. So quite a nice little conglomeration of people there. And it's about a film director, Bowfinger, played by Steve Martin, who is unable to really get anybody attracted to his project. But he wants to make a film. He's got some people interested. He's got a couple actors and some crew people, and like he could make a film, but he wants to make a big film, but on the cheap. So what he does is he comes up with this idea to shoot a movie. He convinces all the actors that this actor Kit is played by Eddie Murphy has committed to the part, but he has these like restrictions. He doesn't want to. He's super method and doesn't want to converse with anybody from the film, and so nobody can go talk to him about being in the film. And they do all these setups, but they're all at situations where he's supposed to be. They have to try to track him down and kind of jump out and surprise him, and like the actors are like shouting lines at him, and he has no idea what's going on. It's a great performance from Eddie Murphy, and he starts like slowly losing his mind. He's like, oh, these white people that keep shouting at me. It's my language, and I don't know what's there. It's like old school Eddie Murphy, even though it's PG-13. He is doing his fast talking, just crazy performance here. This film leans so into Eddie Murphy and what makes him funny, but also really allows like Steve Martin the opportunity to shine. We've got honestly Heather Graham. This is again 1999 was her year. She's not, I like the last thing I saw her was like Best Christmas Ever, which was hot garbage. But yeah, there was a period where she was just the it girl, and it was this was the moment. Christine Baranski's excellent because she's always excellent. Jamie Kennedy's fine in this. You know, this was kind of when he was still having a moment. I think this is pre Jamie Kennedy experiment. Um, and obviously, like, the latter half of his career was just didn't do well. Because he still has, ahead of him after this, he still has Malibu's Most Wanted, which was a hit for him. So, but then he still has, like, Kicking Into Old School, which was not. So he has more films to star in, and obviously Robert Downey Jr. This is before he goes to rehab again. This is in a weird period for him, so he's in a small role because he's not really a star anymore at this point. He's in this period where people are like, I don't know, do we work with Robert Downey Jr.? You know, and Frank Oz and Steve Martin were like, yeah, we work with Robert Downey Jr. So it's funny. It's what I love about this film is it's about filmmaking, but it's about filmmaking on this, like, gonzo level of just going out there and just, like, shooting in public. And then, like, you could do this, anybody could do this. They could just, I mean, technically no, because you don't have permits, but I mean, like, as long as you never get caught, you know, you could just, like, have people, like, run out in the middle of scenes and be like, oh my god, it's coming, and then just, like, and then they run away, and then, like, the crowd looks at them like, what is that? You know, I mean, they used to do prank shows like that. That's essentially what a prank show is. And yeah, so it's, they don't have the permits, but other than that, they get everything. They get, you know, they're able to shoot this weird alien movie, which is pretty impressive. And some of the ways they do things are kind of funny and kind of cool. Like, I love how they get the walking in the garage scene with the to give Kit the paranoid moment, and he can't see who's behind him. It's because it's a dog wearing heels. I love shit like that. That's hilarious. Steve Martin, his script here is great, and he's funny in it, and Eddie Murphy's hilarious. He ends up playing, so, like, later on in the film, when they're trying to look for, because they want to film like an intimate scene, like a sex scene. So they need somebody who looks like Kit, and the gag here is that Eddie Murphy comes in as this nerdy guy who clearly looks exactly like Kit. You know, like, it's just, like, really obvious. But and they use him as a stand-in for a lot of the more intimate scenes, and he's, you know, he laughs when he sees boobs. It's like, it's very, very silly for him. So, yeah, I like this movie. It's good. I'm really glad that I watched it. Frank Oz is a good director, in general. So I'm happy that because this came out in 1999, it forced me to do the 25th anniversary of it, along with everything else I've been doing anniversary releases of. It is TTS, but it is good audio description for the most part. Like, it's well written. Like, at its heart, it's well written, and the audio quality wasn't shitty. Amazon has produced some really terrible audio quality TTS things where it's, like, muffled, or there's a ton of audio ducking, and it's just like the film gets loud, soft, loud, soft, loud, soft, or the track just isn't balanced correctly. For some reason, everything just kind of, like, landed just right. And if somebody were to ask me, you know, what is at Amazon, what are we doing right? I would point to Bowfinger, and I'd be like, do more of that. It's also because it's a funny film, and the audio description is they just sort of chose kind of like a neutrally light voice. There are no emotional stakes here. So it's one of those few films where you notice it less because there isn't anything here to really respond to. I mean, you could have somebody who kind of sounds like they're having a little bit more fun with it, like kind of like what Dave Wallace does with stuff. But there's nothing, nobody dies. There's no jump scare. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no major action sequence. So to have kind of a flat, but also flat in a not in a dull way, because there's some people who are flat in sort of that like droning way, but flat in sort of a a little bit more up in pitch. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't like the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. So I don't really want tons of TTS, and I don't want them to use it on. I would say I'm just gonna say films that matter. There's a whole back catalog. I mean, think about how many movies have been made in the 100 years of cinema, 100+ years of cinema. I mean, it's. I know, like there are people who are like, well, we can't we have to let TTS in, otherwise we'll never get. You cannot be describe everything and then also expect it all to be human. We do not have that many narrators. There aren't that many audio description companies. And then when you roll television in there, it's like, fuck me. It's never going to happen. So we have to kind of draw the line and say, where do we want it used? You know, am I that surprised it's on Bowfinger, which is 25 years old? Not really. I don't know that people talk about Bowfinger necessarily in the same way that they do some other classic films. So maybe we should. I think this is probably a very underrated classic comedy that could have a moment if more people watched it again, especially if people were like, "Oh shit, Robert Downey Jr. is in this," like because he's all the hotness now. But yeah, I'm gonna say I didn't mind it that much on this. The one thing though that I have to say is, okay, so Steve Martin employs cheap labor in this film. He employs day laborers, Latinx population, and they are referred to anytime they need to be referred to as an immigrant. Instead of their name, they have no names. They're just an immigrant. It's just, I felt uncomfortable. I was like, he occasionally will call them a name. I don't know if it's their name, but I'd rather have names that Steve Martin is using than immigrant, and then apply that to every Latinx character who's working on this film. One of the immigrants, one of the immigrants, one of the immigrants, an immigrant. It's like, it doesn't really. Lots of people are immigrants also. It doesn't really say anything about who they are as people. It just kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't really do anything for me. It doesn't spark joy. So I've discarded it. I Marie Kondoed it out of the film. I was like, nope, doesn't spark joy. So I would not have chosen that word. And if somebody had given me the QC word, I'd have been like, can we find something else? Let me listen to the film again. Let me see if I can find these names that he occasionally will shout out to somebody. Because I would rather, I can't remember what he's saying, but if he's like shouting out like random, like stereotypical Latinx names like Juan, Jose, and Pedro, I'd rather use those, to be totally honest. It feels more, I don't know, what do I want to say, derogatory to just lump them all in as immigrant. And especially because you can immigrate from other countries, so it doesn't really even say anything about who they are as people. It's very weird. It's a very weird choice. I was put off by it. But, so that's it. That was my big thing about Bowfinger was, I would not use that word. But I'm glad I watched this again. I think I've seen it like twice, but I think I saw it like twice, but like both around the same time. Like I actually remember where I saw this in theaters. I could tell you what theater I saw this in. You know, I could probably go to the screen, like the actual theater, like within that theater, go to the right one and be like, it was in this theater, and somebody would be like, my God, he remembered. I'd be like, yeah, I did. I truly believe that. Like, I think I know exactly which theater I sat in. So, and then I think I saw it like once maybe when it hit video, and then I haven't seen it since. And I'm really glad because it's for me, it was like watching it kind of fresh. Because I think there's at least a 20-year gap, if 20 plus year gap here between my last viewing and this. And it was so delightful. I had forgotten some of these people were in it. I forgot Christine Baranski was in it. I forgot Jamie Kennedy was in it. I forgot Robert Downey Jr. was in it. I forgot Terrence Stamp was in it. I forgot those people were in it. I was like, okay, this is Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Heather Graham. That's it. That's all I remembered. But I highly recommend it. Anyway, but yeah, you could do worse audio description on Prime than this. So I'm gonna give Bowfinger the 25th anniversary an A-. I do think this is, it's not quite the classic, but it is. It could be. It could be. It could be. It's really funny. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.